Hey, what's up, everybody? Give me just a minute to get everything situated, and we will be getting into it. We have got the special guest tonight. Well, I'll let him introduce himself to you in just a second. And I think I've figured out a better way to do the chat on these multi streams. So tonight we're going to try at least for two of the platforms are going to be up on the screen. FB, I still can't get it up there, but the other two should be on there for everybody to see. All right, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Um, my name is Rodrigo. Thank you for having me on the show. I used to be part of the ramp for almost 5 years, 4 years, almost 5 years. And I've recently started making videos um, about the ramp and how it's a cult.
So, and what do you prefer to go by? What do you prefer me calling you?
You can call me Rod. Lots of people call me Rod, ROD, Rod.
Rod. All right, sounds good to me. There we go. All right. So, if you've not been following, and we've been talking about it on my lives for the last almost 2 weeks, and there's still so much that I don't know. And I mean, as I've said numerous times, the more we dig into this, the crazier it gets. I mean, it's just more eye opening every single day. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about the ramp, which is located in, well, it's headquartered based out of Hamilton, Alabama, which is a small town in pretty much the northwest corner of the state of Alabama. And they also have a campus in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And then I also believe they have one in the UK. And again, we'll let him go over all of that. He's the expert here. But we've been talking about them a lot. And around March the 15th, 16th, somewhere around in there of this year, it became public that what I've been told, their CFO, second in command, pretty much, had admitted that he had been essaying minors. And on the 17th, the founder and leader of the ramp, Karen Wheaton, came out with a statement. And we've gone over that statement, and I've analyzed that statement in full. And again, we've talked about a lot of that stuff. There have been quite a few victims come out now, not just of that one predator, but we know of there's quite a few predators now, and it just gets deeper and deeper. And also, what is concerning as well to me is all the connections that we have figured out that Karen Wheaton has. Her branches go out to all kinds of places, and it's all starting to come together just a little bit. But again, it's very crazy. But Rod here has been calling this place out for a while now, and someone put me onto his videos a while back, and they're very informative. And like he said, he is a former member there, so he has got inside information. And I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation tonight. Bear with us on questions in the comments. We are live on 3 different platforms right now. And again, I'm able to bring 2 of those platforms, the chats up on the screen, and then there's one that's still not. But if you have a really good question, my moderators are going to be watching. And if they see a really good question, then they will pin a question. And whether it's for myself or Rod, and we will try to answer it. But there's a lot of people on. So I definitely cannot promise you every question will be answered. And actually, every question won't be answered, but we are going to try to get to as many as possible. If you have not shared the live, please do that. I would really appreciate it. And if you're new here and you're not following, please make sure you follow me or subscribe on whatever platform you're on. And then also make sure you follow and subscribe to all of Rod's platforms, and I'll let him go over all those with you. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him, and we'll get started.
Yeah. Um, so I guess we could start at the beginning. When I got there was I got there around 2010, and it was still very small. There was maybe 50 people in the community, and I moved there from California. I'm from California, and I moved there because I saw it on YouTube. I saw this guy that used to preach there. His name's Damon Thompson, and so I didn't know anything about the ramp. I didn't know that they had a dance team that was apparently famous, but I had just gotten saved. I used to be an atheist. I just gotten saved, and so I thought, well, this place looks really cool because the main preacher had dreads and tattoos, and he looked like a regular guy to me, not like a regular preacher. So then that's why I moved out there, and I sold. Me and my brother, we sold everything that we owned. We gave everything away just to move down there. And then while we were down there, we found out that they had started a school. Now at that time, it wasn't a school yet; it was just an internship. And so we moved there, but they had already started the internship, and so we didn't join in until they actually started the school. And then we were part of the school. And I graduated from that school, quote unquote school. But it was very rough. I mean, even back then, there was a lot of stuff that was coming out that was not very Christian. There was also a church split there when the main preacher guy, Damon Thompson, left. It basically split the whole church. And this is why I say it's a cult, right? To begin with, is that the day that Damon Thompson left, they made us go up to Karen after a service. So after a service, they had Karen up on stage, sit down in a seat, and we all had to go up to her one by one and pledge our allegiance to her. We had to look her in the face and say, I believe your side of the story and I will follow you. And that to me is a classic cult. Like total allegiance to the main leader with no questions asked about what has happened. Why has this person that was so prominent in the ministry left? There's no questions allowed and no answers are given. You're just made to follow. And that's what breeds, in my opinion, this culture where these kinds of abuses can happen. Because how can you, if you can't question why somebody left that was such a big part of the ministry, then you can't question anything. and and the thing is, if you bring up anything, they treat you like, they basically blacklist you, and they treat you that, they talk about you like you're a person who doesn't submit to authority. So then when these people come up and they say, "Hey, I was abused in this way," the same thing happens to them. They're told to be quiet, not to say anything, and everybody else, if it comes out, they're told to take the side of leadership.
Hey, let
And
me
that's
let me interrupt you right quick. So, someone said for an internship question mark. So, can you explain to us more about what that meant and what exactly that was? The internship part.
okay. So the internship was a 2 year. Okay, so it started by being just an internship, which is like you go there and you follow the main preachers around, and they show you how they do ministry, and they teach you how to do the things that they do. Right? They go out and they evangelize in other churches. They preach in other churches. They take you with them. You get to see the day to day of what they do. They had a lot of success with that, and so they decided to turn it into a school. Now, the school was different than the internship because the school actually had classes that you attended, and there was too many people when it turned into a school for the leaders to take with them when they went to different churches. So it was just ended up being just you attend the classes, and they taught you about the Bible, but none of them had any sort of degrees in the Bible, or really, I don't think that any of them had degrees in anything. I think Sam Bentley was one of the only ones that had a degree, and I think his degree was in business.
So they it was just whoever Karen approved to be a teacher, professor, whatever you want to call it, uh, was all you needed. In other words,
Yes,
no no
exactly.
no formal education from these people. Which I mean, I don't have a problem with, and you know, depending on the situation. But
Yes, me either. But they also didn't have any sort of training on the field. Like, these were people who had only been at the ramp dancing on stage, who now are teaching classes. Like, they had never even gone to different churches and preached, or on the street to evangelize.
yeah,
These are
well, and if you're going to teach, you have to know how to teach. There's you can't just no one can just walk into a classroom and start teaching anything. I mean, there's a learning curve. There's things you need to know and understand on how people learn, and I mean, there's a lot to it. Any teacher for a school will tell you that it's not something anybody could just. Which I understand. There's a lot of people that believe that it's just this easiest job in the world, but it's not. And so you need some type of formal education, at least in how to present things and let how to make people understand what you're trying to present to them and things like that. You can't just pull anyone off the street and expect them to go in and people be able to retain what that person is telling them. Yeah, and yeah, somebody just made a comment. Have to be a great communicator, and absolutely, you have to be a really good communicator, and that's not easy. And there's a lot to learn about it. And then, so one of the things you've said already that, and again, as I've said numerous times, about every minute that we talk about this subject, I learn something else that just blows my mind. And so that was the first I'd heard about this that I can recall anyway, and I think I would remember about this y'all having to go down individually and pledge your allegiance to Karen. I've never seen that in a true church ministry of any kind. In fact, the church I was raised in and the church I attend now, they teach the opposite. You don't praise anyone, any person on this earth like that. The only person that you praise like that is God Himself. And this sounds like the opposite of that. It's, I mean, and I've said this before, even before I'd heard that because I just see it in the comments and some of the other things people have said about Karen. is she is treated like a god, and that's very concerning to me. And I think she enjoys that as well, and that's even more concerning. But so, and someone, and I believe it was when you were talking about that night when everybody had to go up and pledge their allegiance to her. Someone made a comment that they were at that, they were there that night, and that a lot of people got up and walked out and left. So, about how many people would you say just got up and was like, okay, this is too much?
I'd say probably about half. Now, there's an issue that came out of this, and the issue was that all the men, all the men who had families there, they all got up and left with their families. And what was left over was young people like me who were stuck there because we went there for school and we had already paid. And what were we going to do? We're going to call our parents and say, hey, something went down and I got to go home now. Like a lot of us didn't have that kind of ability to leave. But when those men left, then there was the availability for the predators to run rampant because these men were like father figures to a lot of people who were in the school, and they would welcome us and they would feed us when we didn't have things to eat. And so when that safety net left, then it created this void of there was nobody on the student side who could actually stand up and say, no, this is wrong.
And it may have been one of your videos that I saw where, because you're hitting on the dependency there, and cults are very good at that. They under cult leaders understand that we have to create a dependency. That way, they have nowhere else to go. We're their only family. We're the only ones really here for them. We're the only ones that's really going to take care of them, that love them, and all this stuff. And another thing that cults are known for is for all their members, they get pretty strict as time goes by to distance that member from their true families and friends. And they have a way, these leaders have a way of communicating that to convince people. I mean, they brainwashing people that, look, you don't need them, you need us. Is that something that you've seen part of the ramp as well? Are there any instances where you can think of something like that as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the local the local people think the ramp from the start. They thought the ramp was a cult. And so when you go outside of the ramp building, that's what you're treated as. You're treated as somebody who's part of this cult. And you're not welcome. The locals don't welcome you. And so inside the ramp building, they always preach to you that the reason why they say that is because we're the only true ones that know God. And we're the ones that are teaching you the reality. And that's just the devil. The devil's coming out of them because you have the truth. And this extends to your family members who all of a sudden start telling you, like, hey, I think this is a cult. Like I didn't look into it before you left, but now I'm discerning that this is a cult. Then you think the same thing, like, oh, they're just saying that because I'm actually following God. And that's what was always preached. This is part of the persecution that you feel as being one of the true believers who believes in our teaching, basically.
Yeah, and I figured that was going to be your answer as far as there was going to be quite a few examples of that. And I still, when I look at things, I take the same route that I always did if I was investigating a real, a case as a detective. And so I'm always trying to what I call disprove the theory. So if I get in my head, this place is a cult, then I can continuously try to find reasons for it not to be a cult. And that's a good way of just trying to stay unbiased and not fall down the route of confirmation bias. And so far, I have not seen or heard one thing that then points to me that no, this is not a cult. Not one. And that's why I feel so confident now, and why I have for the last week almost, of saying, no, this is a cult. And that's not a term I throw around lightly. Uh, I don't know if I've ever just out of nowhere started calling a place a cult, any kind of religious organization um, that I've looked into like this, because that term is thrown around very lightly a lot these days. Uh, a lot of people that have never been to a large church, they look at these mega churches and they automatically, oh, it's a cult. Oh, it's a cult. Things like this when they don't know anything about it. And so I'm very careful about using that term. But again, in this situation, there is no doubt in my mind that this is a cult. And if you have any friends or family members still a part of that, you really need to sit them down and have real conversations with them. And if you need professional help, then look for professional help to help you do that, because it's only going to get worse for them. And nothing good, nothing good ever comes out of someone. You don't ever hear of someone leaving a cult and then saying, you know what, I regret that. It was an amazing thing. It did amazing things for my life. You don't ever hear that. And the longer they're there, the worse it's going to get for them. And another thing I want everyone to understand that I always try to make sure to say when we're talking about this, every just because someone is a member of that place, say right now, most of them are true victims. They have been brainwashed. So don't go out and just act like they're evil. For one, that's not going to win them over to this side at all. But they are truly a victim. And I know that's hard for some people to understand, but these people have been brainwashed. And as I've said, Karen Wheaton is a great communicator. She is a great communicator. She knows what she's doing. And it's very, very concerning. But I can completely understand how she can so easily talk so many people into joining and staying there. And once they get their blinders on, they don't see anything else. So don't just write those people off. But again, if they're your friends or family, you need to try to get them help. Um, and we're going to do everything we can to bring as much awareness to this as possible. We're going to get this nationwide for sure. And the more awareness that's brought to this, the better off these victims are. Now, some of the people, and I'll let him go over this. Obviously, some of the members there are not victims, and they're very willing participants, and they are just as much participants as Karen Wheaton. But again, a lot of them are just victims. There has been so Samuel. Let's move on. Let's talk about Samuel right quick. You might walk us through. Start with talk about Samuel as if none of us have ever even heard of him, and tell us exactly who he is, what he is, where he came from, and what has happened now with him.
Okay, so Samuel was one of the original members of the ramp. And so let me just take it back a little bit to talk about Karen Wheaton. She came back after, doing her singing career. She came back to Hamilton and she had gone through a divorce and she was looking to reinvent herself. And as she's there, she sees these young people, who don't have anything or anywhere to go. And so she starts a ministry for young people out of her brother in law's church. She was the youth pastor basically at her brother in law's church. But what she did was she strategically went after young people who were influential in the town. This is a small town. So she specifically went after people who were influential in the town. She went to the high school and recruited people at the high school. One of these recruits was Samuel Bentley, who is the son of the judge of Marion County, which is where Hamilton is. And so he was obviously very influential, someone that everybody knew in the town. And she got him to be part of her team. Now, Samuel had had a daughter with another person, but somehow got involved with Karen Wheaton's daughter, and then ended up marrying Karen Wheaton's daughter. And he became basically a big staple at the ramp. Now, he at first didn't get on stage and speak, but he did open up every single conference by blowing the shofar, which is a big horn that they blew. Um, and nonetheless, he was well known around town, very influential, very wealthy family, and they owned lots of land there in Hamilton, lots of buildings. And through that connection, Karen was able to get things done that she wanted to get done, like buy buildings, secure loans, get grants and all these things because she had this connection to um, the government basically of Hamilton, and they really run that city. They run that city right now, or they have for like the past 20 whatever years. So Samuel became what they would call prophet. He was the prophet of the ramp, and so he claimed that God gave him dreams and visions, and he would share those, and they would use his prophetic dreams and visions in order to say what they were going to do next. So like he had a dream about, I don't know, whatever, like buying a building, so then they went ahead and bought that building. And he was never really a great speaker, so he was never really one of the main people that spoke. But as other people started leaving, he became more and more prominent. They started putting him in the front more and more. And when I was there, he taught a class. He taught a class on financial literacy, and he was all about money. And I want to say that I would say that Sam was my friend. Me and Sam Bentley, we had a secret handshake that we would do every time we'd see each other. Um, we had this thing where we we connected on this uh, theology of wealth, prosperity gospel. And so we both really liked a guy named Creflo Dollar, who I don't like anymore. Obviously, I'm not in the prosperity gospel anymore. But we'd watch all these preachings and we talk about them. And we had this thing that we would do to each other where we would do this. And basically, what we were doing was we were rolling the slot machine of heaven, is what we called it. And we were going to get a jackpot one day. So the more we did it, the more likelihood that we would get a jackpot. So every time he drive, every time I see him driving by or I see him at Walmart or whatever, we do this and we'd be like, and we would say, money cometh to me right now. And we would just every time he saw me, he would stop. We would, talk. And I thought that he presented himself as this awesome, very chill, down to earth person. And I liked them. And I would have never thought that he would do something like this. Now, as he got more and more power at the ramp, it seemed like I think it corrupted him more and more. And he was always very lustful, I'd say. Like he would tell stories to his friends like me about his exploits um with his wife, and about the things he used to do before he was really involved at the ramp. And so he was always very about those kind of stories about exploits with women. And very he would tell us explicit stories about things that he did with his own wife. And and it was inappropriate, but this was the person that I thought, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe he's even talking to me. And so I never said anything about that. I never thought there was anything wrong with that because I was just elated that he was even talking to me, that we were even friends. And he now allegedly, I think the trouble started, or at least as far as I know, back in 2020. Allegedly, he was at the campus in Chattanooga, and he was leading that campus. And his wife found an NDA signed by a woman that he had been having an affair with, and this is all allegedly, obviously, they
Yep.
paid her off and made her sign an NDA. And that's the reason why they left so abruptly from that campus. And then they came back to Hamilton. Now, this was never disclosed to anybody. It was never said, and nothing was addressed from the pulpit. And Karen just went on like it never happened. And of course, Karen's other daughter had her own marital problems. And so this would have been really bad for Karen Wheaton herself to have two daughters who were having marriage problems. And so she hid it. And then in 2024, the alumni, not me, but other alumni, uh, a guy named Joey Trebe, uh, an ex teacher at the ramp. His name is Andrew. What's his name? I forget his name right now. But he came out, and then and a friend of mine, her name's Jennifer. They came out. And they started speaking about what they were hearing from the ramp, that Sam Bentley was doing, assaulting minors, children. Really, these are children, and these children started coming forth. And again, it was hidden. This came out in 2024. And so then now, because the authorities got involved, then that's why, in my opinion, that's why he finally came clean, and they've made this statement. Because, in my opinion, it's because they couldn't hide it anymore.
So,
But yeah,
and that's a question that I've had that I couldn't pinpoint down. The allegations, like any allegations of Sam being a predator, as far as doing anything inappropriate with minors at all. When did any of those allegations first come up that you know of?
to me, they came up in 2024 because the children were speaking about it during the ramp youth group.
So we know so we know these allegations started at least in 2024, possibly sooner for Karen, but as far as with you, at least 2024, which was two 2 years ago, obviously. And so when help me with the timeline here. I've we've gone back and we've looked at old post comments, things like that on social media when people first started calling the ramp a cult and hey, talking about some of the issues there. And a couple, or I ain't gonna say a couple. I know at least one victim came out, speaking out publicly. I want to say maybe 2024. It may have been 25, but I think 2024, maybe in sooner. And what I'm getting at is the victim that came out then, there was a lot of hate online towards them, and people started calling them a liar. And I saw the term, "Oh, they fell away from Jesus. That's the reason they're, the devil's got in them now, and they're trying to take us down," and all this stuff. Did all of that happen around that you know of? Did all that happen around the same time that the allegations first came out about him, or are they two completely separate kind of, I guess, timelines? If that makes sense.
So there was a guy that came out on a live with a guy named Joey Trebe, who's an alumni from my class, my same school year, and he gave his story about what happened to him at the ramp. His story was about a separate person who was part of the staff at the ramp. There has been at least five individuals who were on staff or part of Chosen who have assaulted people, including minors. And they've have all been, including Samuel Bentley, they've all been covered up.
And from everything I've seen so far, anyone that spoke out against the ramp prior to March of this year, they received a lot of hate, and it was from anyone with the ramp. It was denial, denial, denial. Now, thankfully, some of that has changed. There's still a lot that are spewing hate about it, but some of that has changed. And I'm guessing that if this hadn't came out about Sam and his admission, then there would still be from Karen and everyone at the ramp denial, denial, denial. Uh, would you agree with that?
Oh yes, absolutely. And at least I haven't received tons of hate, but I know the previous alumni did, like Joey Trebe and Stephen Walmack, who was the ex-teacher, and even Jennifer. Now, I don't think any of them will classify themselves as Christian, and a lot of the hate was just attacking them on their spirituality, and they can't do that with me
Yeah.
because I'm Christian. And literally I destroy these people in the comments with the Bible. So I haven't had that many people who have come out and been very hateful towards me. But yes, like you're saying, obviously because he admitted it, now there's a lot of people thinking, well, maybe this is true. Maybe the rest of it was true.
And there's a couple different comments. So somebody made the comment, and I'm guessing they're referring to Sam. The comment just says he told the class he had had two affairs. Is that something you heard from Sam at some point?
I don't think that was Sam. There's another guy called Mike McKnight. Now he also ran the school at a time. He was the head of the school. He had had two affairs with no, he had had one affair with somebody before he came to the ramp, and he was let go of that church because of that affair. And Karen hired him and put him in front of the school as the head of the school, and then he convinced the girl in the school who didn't want it, by the way, and there's texts that she put out to prove this. You can find those texts on Stephen Walmack's Facebook page, but she did not want it, and he coerced her into having a relationship with her. Now, maybe they're referring to when Karen Wheaton came out to the church, because when Karen Wheaton came out to the church, she said that there was two children, again children, that he assaulted, and she framed one of them as being an affair. So there were two separate children. One of them was just glanced over, and the other one was framed to be an affair. And so
So
maybe that's what they're talking about.
so you're saying Karen spoke about an incident or a situation with Sam and a minor, and the word she used was affair.
Yes. Now again, this is allegedly, and I've
Yeah.
been told this by people who still were going to church there. So they were sitting there, and this is what they heard. So again, I wasn't personally there, but this is what they told me, and
So
I've heard it from multiple people.
so this is something you're saying that she's just said when this all came out in the past
Yes.
month. Okay, got you.
When she gave the statement, when they put the statement out, that Sunday they addressed the church, and that's what she said. She said that it was an affair. Again, I even made a video about this, saying a child cannot consent to an affair with somebody. You're making it seem like now it's consensual, so it's not that bad. No, this is a child. This is not consensual in any way.
No, I mean, that's downplaying, and that's what these people do. It doesn't surprise me, unfortunately, but yeah, someone calling the essaying of a minor an affair is that is just classic downplaying, and that should piss anyone off that hears that. I mean, trying to compare those two things are they're not we're not even talking about in the same league here, and that is just all that is trying to downplay. And another thing it tells you about her, if she, and again, this is allegedly, if she used that word, then that tells you, on top of everything else we know about her, that's how she sees it in her mind. She does not see it as a crime. And that's a big red flag, along with the 500 other red flags we've seen from Karen Wheaton. But again, it doesn't surprise me, but it just pisses me off even more. Now, okay, so one of the comments says, and she's saying she heard this comment from Sam, so you may not have. But she said, no, it was Sam. He told the class in 2020 that he had two affairs. Then the next director, Kevin McBride, had an affair with the student. So are you familiar with Kevin McBride?
Yes, Kevin McBride ran the school for a little bit, and he had an affair where he coerced a student to have relations with him.
So
And
that the one you were talking about a while ago? Because I think you may have said you misspoke it. I think you may have said McKnight or something like that. Was that
oh, okay, I'm
Kevin
sorry.
McBride?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
McBride. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure we're
Yeah,
on the same page. Okay.
yes.
And
Now, like I said, 2020 is when Samuel Bentley was in Chattanooga, and he had to come back, where allegedly there was an NDA that a woman had to sign, and she was paid off to be quiet. So it would coincide if he came back to the school and he said that he had an affair, and maybe that's why he stepped down from running the school, and this guy McBride took over.
now, how long have you been speaking out publicly about the ramp? Approximately.
Since since the statement came out.
So so about 3 weeks.
Yes. Now, initially, when this came out in 2024, when people started speaking out, I did speak out on Facebook, on my Facebook, but only through, text, only through the text of Facebook. I wasn't yet making videos,
Okay.
but yeah, but
But you
before this
but you
came,
have been speaking out against it in some way since 2024.
yes,
Okay, and
yes.
I thought that was the case because I thought I'd seen some stuff, but uh, someone asked, why did it take you 2 years to come out when so many people knew about it? But I didn't think it wasn't 2 years. You've been speaking out about it, just not as much and prominent as right now.
Because I wasn't really aware of what I'm aware of now,
Yeah,
and there was already alumni who were speaking out, and they had way more traction than I could ever get. So why would I speak? I mean, you go to Joey Treve's page, he's got a video that's got over 1 million views talking about the ramp. So here, who am I? I don't have any following near that.
yeah,
So why? And I wasn't even thinking about making videos.
yeah. No, I understand that. Um, I just wanted to make it clear to everyone that you didn't like. This is not the first time you've ever spoken out against this. You've been calling them out in some way or fashion since, for sure. And so we've in your, I guess we'll call it an opinion, because I've heard so many different things. Who was Sam to the church, to the ministry, whatever you want to call it, to the ramp, when when this came out the middle of March of this year? So, because I've heard a lot of people say he was actually the CFO, the chief financial officer. Like he was the second in command, like it was Karen and then him. Do you agree with that, or was he something else? Do you think?
Yes, absolutely. He was the financial officer. He oversaw Karen's all of Karen's money, not just the ministry, but all her money. And on top of that, like I said, he was labeled a prophet. That means that what he spoke was literally the words of God.
And Karen named him a prophet.
Yes.
Wow. How many do you know of any other people she has named as a prophet?
No.
So that's the only one that you know of that she's named as a prophet. And that
Yes.
and that prophet has been a child predator.
Yes.
Wow. So there's another guy that I've been told was on staff, and he has since been arrested for doing things with children. And his name was High. Hold on, I don't want to get it wrong.
Andrew High.
Andrew High. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you? Did you know him?
Yes, I did know him.
Tell us what you know about Andrew.
So when I was there, when I first got there, Andrew was basically the main choreographer with alongside Karen Wheaton's daughter for their dance team. Now they were the ministry itself was famous for the dance team. And he was a very prominent person because he could dance. Um, he was also very down to earth, and we hung out all the time. He hung out with in the same friend group as me, and so I saw him all the time. I went over to his house. He came over to other people's houses. We hung out all the time, and he was definitely a predator. I didn't see it then. I didn't know it then, but he was definitely trying to single out people to do things with. Now, at the time, 18 or older, but he was definitely trying to single people out and do things with them. Actually, I have a friend that, and I don't want to name them, but I
Yeah.
have a friend that Andrew High sent pictures to, unsolicited pictures to, while we were there at the school. And yeah, he was disturbed and disgusted by it. But Andrew High left for a while, and then he came back. And when he came back, he told me that the reason he left was because basically Karen stole money from him. He didn't have a front tooth. His front tooth was missing. And so there was a family that gave him a lot of money. I don't know how much it was, but thousands of dollars to get his tooth fixed. And Karen kept that money. And then he came back because Karen told him that she would pay him in installments, but then she never ended up paying him. And Andrew High was also really good friends with another guy there named Tyler, who also was a predator. And yeah, and the other thing that I know is that he, when it came out that he had assaulted an underage person, they took him off of the main dance team and they Karen did, put him in charge of the youth dance team, where he would take the youth dance team out into the middle of the woods to show them dances on these dance retreats. And there has been somebody who was a very prominent member of the not just the city but the church, who came out and said that Karen herself. You can find this on Stephen Womack's Facebook page. He came out and said that Karen herself told him not to send his kid to the retreat because Andrew High liked young boys basically. And so he was warned, but nobody else was warned. And she knew, but she let him be in charge and take minors
I
to the
think
middle of nowhere with no parents present.
I think we are flirting with the very real possibility of Karen Wheaton actually getting criminally charged for human trafficking. Um, Obviously, that's not up to me, but I think that would definitely, that right there would qualify her as a human trafficker. Um, is very close at least, and because that's another thing I've been trying. Just the things that are public. Obviously, I don't know everything. Is you know how can we really get her to make sure she never is able to get another victim again? Um, Whether that's taking her down financially, which I think is a really good possibility for any of these victims, and I hope they're all pursuing that, as well as something criminally to get her sent to prison. And one of those is, I think, going to be some finances, because I think she has committed a lot of fraud, possibly extortion. And again, that's speculation on my part. I don't know of any actual extortion. Just knowing these cases and my experience in that stuff, it will not surprise me at all if that doesn't come out at some point. But purposely placing someone that you know to be a child predator in charge of minors and sending them away to a place where I'm sure these families were giving money to Karen Wheaton, whether it be through tithes or paying. I don't know what kind of camps these were or whatever. And then obviously she was probably or I'm sure he was receiving some kind of pay from the ministry. I mean, that's human trafficking. And she really needs to go down. It just makes me sick to think that she did that. Um, it does not surprise me at all. But that's evil. And that's what I've used to describe her is, and she's an evil person. Um, there's no telling what all she has done. But one thing that stuck out in my mind when I was first told about the Andrew High is because he has been arrested and I believe I'm pretty sure he is literally sitting in prison right now. But that didn't come until he had moved to another ministry, and was on staff at a different church camp that had nothing to do with the ramp. And he wasn't there too long before he was caught doing that. And that ministry immediately turned him in and he went to prison for it. Is all that correct? Am I close to being right on all of that? Or is there anything I got wrong about that?
I don't know how he got caught, but all I know is that he is in prison for sodomy with a minor, second degree. That means I believe that the person could have been as young as like 13 or 12 years old.
Yeah. But as far as you know, he was not turned in when he was at the ramp.
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah.
No, never.
And
that's not what the ramp does. They don't turn any predators.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. It's, and I said this the other night, it's not like he was not a child predator, moved to a different ministry, and then woke up one day and decided, you know what, I'm going to be a child predator today. No, he was a child predator the whole time. It was getting swept under the rug and covered up at the ramp, because it's not a coincidence that once he gets to another place, he's caught and sent to prison. It's not a coincidence. again, you don't just wake up one morning and decide you're going to be a child predator. And so, and I would be surprised if he's the first one that has happened to. Do you know why he left the ramp when he left?
I have no idea, but my speculation is that it was over money.
Okay. But you don't know exactly what happened when he left. Were you still part of it when he left, or was that after you left?
I'm not sure. I mean, he was still on stage when I was there, and he was just. I think he was very quietly removed. Like all of a sudden, he just wasn't there. Nobody mentioned anything about it.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't finally kind of ran off just because they didn't want to be caught. Which, I mean, I know, I don't know if that's why they ran him off, but obviously they knew about his allegations before he left there. And by them not doing the right thing, by them not telling the authorities then they not only probably created more victims at the ramp for him, but they also created more victims at the next place he went. That if they had done the right thing, those victims wouldn't have been victims. And that infuriates me like nothing else. That is not something you just cover up and say, you know what, you go your way, we'll go ours, and we'll be done with this. No, you can't do that with those allegations. You can't. And no true Christian would do that. There's just no way. I don't see that at all. Any true Christian is going to literally do everything they can to protect children, for sure. There's just no doubt in my mind about that. But so we have him, we have Sam, and these two are factual because Sam has admitted it, and Andrew was convicted and sent to prison for it. And so those are no doubt, these two people are, well, excuses for humans, they are child predators. And you don't have to say a name if you don't feel comfortable with it. But how many are there others there? I think you've already answered this, but are there others there on staff that have been accused of similar things?
Yes, like we mentioned, there's Mike McBride, and there was another guy who was on the chosen team who's also now arrested, I believe, for the same thing for SA. I'm not sure if it was against a minor, but they're in prison now. They were on chosen. I don't remember his name. There was a young kid that Karen brought in because he had an SA allegation at a different church, and so he was brought into the ramp to heal, and then he SA'd somebody at the ramp. I forget his name. Um,
Hold on 1 second. I want to see. So you said there's another one that's been arrested.
yes,
Does anyone know who that is? Can somebody give me a name? Because I didn't realize there was another one.
yes. If there's
Chase
any,
Chase
if there,
Cantrell.
yes, yes,
Wow. All right.
yes.
Tell me what you know about Chase.
I don't know anything. I wasn't
Okay.
there when he was there, so
Okay.
all I know is that it came out that he got arrested, and there's allegations of him doing the same thing at the ramp, and then he got arrested after he left the ramp.
Jesus. And everyone keep in mind, we played a short video the other night on here of, and you're probably familiar with it too, Rod, of a member. I don't know if he's on staff or whoever he is there. Just recently, I think it was a video. Maybe it was just a post or comment. But anyway, he came out and said, people were trying to tear the ramp down and say, they want it shut down over one man's problems. Well, obviously, we're not talking about one person here. We're talking about at least 3 factual proven predators. And I just want everyone to remember that, because you're going to continue to see comments like that and hear people that are members there say those things. That's your response. No, we're not talking about one. We're talking about at least 3. And I would bet everything, because this is what happens when victims start speaking out. And this is why I always encourage a victim to speak out. But don't get me wrong, I will never look down upon a victim for not speaking out, ever. That is their choice. And I completely understand why some victims won't and don't want to. That is completely understandable. But I will always encourage victims to speak out, because most of the time when victims start speaking out, then it brings all the other it shows a lot of other victims that, hey, okay, I do need to speak out, and I can, and they start coming forward too. And if that hasn't already happened, which for all we know it is, for all we know, there's been other victims called the authorities and are telling that side. It's just not public yet. Again, I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt that at all. But if it's not happened yet, I guarantee you it will. And so at the end of this, there's no telling how many. I mean, at this point, there's no telling how many predators have truly been attached to the ramp. It's obviously part of the culture there and accepted. And you just said, and was it Chase you were talking about? I can't remember now. Who was brought in because they were alleged of doing these things, and they were brought in to be fixed by the ramp?
I don't remember his name.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
But it wasn't Chase?
I wasn't there when he was there. It was pretty recent.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't. Yes.
And so, but anyway, there's been another person that they literally brought in because they had these allegations against them, and they were going to fix them, which we know that, number one, we know that's not possible. It doesn't happen. We've talked about this. There's more research than you could ever imagine done on child predators, and as of right now, there's no known rehabilitation. There's not. It's just something that can't be fixed. And that's why I always fall back on they're true evil people, and they're demons or possessed by demons, because you can't fix them no matter what. And that's a whole other level. But for them, so for Karen to know, hey, we have an issue here. Well, in her head, apparently it wasn't an issue. But hey, we have this culture here, and I know I've got these child predators working under me. Let's bring in another one. That concerns me more than anything we've heard, probably. Because that means not only was she just covering up, worried about their reputation, that means she was actively, willingly, in some ways encouraging this. And I can't even fathom, I don't even know what sense to put to that. I don't. I told y'all when we first started talking about this, every minute we talk about this, I learned something new that blows my mind, and that's still standing true. And I don't know if that'll stop, or if it does, when. So, okay. So we talked about Chase now, and then there was another one that you don't remember his name, but it was after you left that was brought in because he had those allegations. And are there any others that you know of?
There's another one. His name's Tyler Jordan, and he's still there. He's still at the ramp.
Okay, we did talk
And
about. I remember. Okay, so we talked about Tyler the other night a little bit, and tell us what you know about Tyler.
well, Tyler was part of the staff with the media team, and this was also somebody I hung out with because a lot of my friends were on the media team. And what I did at the ramp is I ran security. I didn't run security, but I was part of the security team. And so I was always there with the media guys, and he was how maybe I would say he was like the second in command of the media. But he now this wasn't a minor, but one of the alumni came out. He had just turned 18, and he said that Tyler, and you can go watch the video of this where they share his story on Jennifer's TikTok
That's right.
channel.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but so
Yeah,
someone just asked who's the guy we were talking about Friday night that works in high school concessions. That's this guy.
that's him.
That's
Yes,
this guy that we're talking about right now. And then this is also the suspect of that video that we watched that Jennifer put out. Um, it's Friday night. We watched the video um, where the victim is talking about that Tyler was at their house or at wherever they live, and they woke up in the middle of the night. We'll play that again in a minute because I'm not doing it justice by just talking about it. But we'll play that video again in a minute because I think everyone needs to see that. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's who we're talking about. All right, go ahead about Tyler.
yes, and so basically he forced himself on the student while the student was asleep. So while they're unconscious, he pulled out his members and stuck it in his face. And this was unwanted contact. And the student told the person who was in charge. The student was in the dorms, so they had basically like a person that was in charge of the dorms. He told them immediately. They immediately told leadership, and leadership didn't do anything about it. In fact, they told him when he came to ask about what was going to be done with his own mother. He came with his own mother to ask about what was going to be done. They told him, come back tomorrow and talk to me tomorrow, to the dean of the school, whose name is Casey Doss. And he came back to talk to Casey Doss with his mom. And Casey Doss told him that basically the guy denied the allegations and that he should had never invited him to sleep in the same bed as him. Basically saying, this is your own fault. And just basically from what he tells is that he screamed at him about, he berated him about having another guy sleeping in his bed, and then kicked him out. Kicked him out of the school. Had the check ready for him uh, to reimburse him for the cost of the school, and he went home. And this was a person I know, so I know that this person is trustworthy because I know the person who shared the story, and there was rumors when I was there at the school, but yeah, now he's come out and shared it, not publicly, but he did share it with the alumni, and so yeah, to me, it's pretty much confirmed that this happened.
Well, that's I don't see that the and again we're gonna play the video in a minute. That's not a story I see someone sitting around and just dreaming up. That's not something you put out about yourself that didn't happen. I mean, number one, uh, I mean, just the courage to tell anyone about that happening. That's a lot of courage right there. Um, and and then to tell who you're supposed to tell immediately, and then be treated like that about it. And that's exactly why when I said a while ago, I will never fault a victim for not speaking out. That's exactly why. Because there's been so many victims that speak out. And I'm not just talking about this case, I'm talking about in general across the United States that when they do speak out, they are hated on. and they're called liars, and they're, I mean, just all kinds of stuff. And so I completely understand when someone else is a victim and they go, "No, I don't want all that. I'm not going through all of that." And this is why you need to be very, very careful about calling someone a liar that speaks out about being SA'd when they were a minor, whether they're still a minor or if they're 45 now and just now speaking out about something that happened when they were 15. You need to be very, very careful about calling them a liar just because, oh, I know that person so well. I know they would never do that. You don't need to call that person a liar unless you 100% you have factual proof that it didn't happen. Because that could be you next. That could be your children next. Do you want people calling them a liar when they've gotten all this courage finally up to speak out? No, you don't. And we see it every day. We will see a victim, 2, even 3 at times, come out and accuse someone of doing inappropriate things to them when they were a child. And then you immediately see people coming out say, "Oh, no, I know John. He would have never done that." No, I've known John my whole life. Unless you have factual proof, just don't speak out about it. Now, if it's just alleged at that time, I'm not saying you have to come out and demonize John, but you definitely don't come out and immediately start calling the victim a liar. Just shut up. Sit back and let the authorities work this out until there's some kind of factual proof. Because when you wake up one day and now John's admitted to it, you're going to feel like an idiot, but that's nowhere close to what you made that victim feel like when you immediately spoke out just because you knew someone. Here's the thing about child predators. A lot of them are very intelligent. They are master manipulators. They have manipulated every single person that knows them. They are good at it. Nobody thinks their friend, nobody thinks their uncle or their cousin is a child predator until it comes out. These people don't just go around telling everybody, "Hey, I do this stuff to little kids." That's not the way it works. Be very, very careful before speaking out publicly at all against someone that has stated allegations about somebody. Again, yes, sometimes it's not true, but that's not a chance you take on someone that's claiming to be a victim of being assaulted as a minor. That's not a chance you take. You wait and you let it play out. You are the reason that more victims don't speak out. You need to understand that. And I mean, we're seeing it right now with some of this stuff. It makes me sick. It just shows your ignorance when you immediately say something like that. Because again, it could be you next, it could be your children next, grandchildren, whoever, and you don't want that happening to them. So don't do it to them. Anyway, I didn't mean to get on the rant there, but that's one thing that irks me so bad. And we see it far too often. But yeah, so anyway, back to this victim of Tyler's, the courage they had to speak out. And again, I don't think that's something they sat around and made up. I just don't believe that at all. especially considering the whole when you look at everything and the patterns, as I say here with the ramp. Nothing would surprise me out of there right now. No allegation would surprise me, unfortunately. But so, just so we know, and I'm going to play the video in just a second. That predator, let me say this, the alleged predator, the person that is that has been accused of that is literally still active with the ramp right now on staff, and also just so happens to volunteer to work at high school concession stands and things like that a lot. So I want to find this video right quick. If you need to take a break or anything, feel free. And we're going to play this video.
In early September of 2012, I was a first-year student at the Ramp School of Ministry. I had just turned 18 years old on September 5th, a couple weeks after school officially started, and I was elated to be another year older. But my time at RSM was a lonely time. With the strict rules in place, I was not allowed to talk with my best friend at the time because she was a female, and we were not allowed to text or contact each other without being in a crowd of mixed gender. I ended up becoming friends with this third-year alumni named Tyler. He had attended the first and second years of RSM, and now he was on staff for the church under said third-year alumni title, and we hit it off. We related to each other over media and tech, since he was working directly under Brad for the church's media team. On a Thursday, a week or so after my birthday, I invited him to stay the night with me at the Animal House. We shared my twin-size bed, which was in a shared bedroom with my roommate, Gabriel. I was abruptly awoken at around 2 a.m. by Tyler's hand on my head, shoving my face to his groin. In my sleepy state, I was not fully aware of what was going on, and my face brushed against his hardened pit. I immediately jumped out of bed, grabbed my phone, and ran to the bathroom, where I had a panic attack and called one of my good friends back at home. After a few minutes, my roommate Gabriel came and knocked on the bathroom door and asked me if I was okay. I was a panicking, emotional mess, and Gabriel decided to go and get our RA from downstairs. While Gabriel was out, Tyler came to the bathroom door and apologized and said he was asleep and he didn't know what he was doing. He then left, and the RA of Animal House came upstairs and had me go to the living room. I brought my Bible and began reading while trying to calm myself down, and my RA contacted a head of leadership. He informed me that in the morning they were going to contact Tyler and get to the bottom of this. In the meantime, I had my RA contact my mother and let her know what had happened. I remember how scared I was when this all went down because I was afraid I was going to be kicked out of the RSM program due to the actions performed against me. After phone calls were made, I went back to my room and laid in bed until the next morning. Friday morning was a numb blur for me. I remember going to the morning prayer and then going back to my house. Normally, we would have had class, but that weekend was a weekend conference, so we were permitted to not have class in prep for the conference. I was given special permission due to the circumstances to not be at the conference, and I decided to drive the nearly 2 hours back to my parents' home. The weekend passed uneventfully, without anyone from RSM contacting me or my mother with details for what had happened. We decided to go to the Sunday night ramp church service to find leadership and ask if anything had been done. We were informed that unfortunately nothing had been done yet because the gentleman who was above the RAs, I cannot remember his name, was busy all weekend with lawn service work in preparation for the conference. This obviously was not the answer we were looking for, but we were invited by Casey Doss to visit him the next day, Monday, in his office to discuss everything. The following day, we met with Casey Doss, where he heard my side of the story and informed us that Tyler denied doing what happened, saying that he was asleep. Casey also drilled into me about why I had allowed another guy to sleep in the same bed with me. In the end, I decided to leave RSM, and Casey Doss that day had a check signed refunding the tuition costs back to me. I then went back to the animal house, packed up my car with my stuff, and then moved back home, leaving the ramp in Hamilton behind. Nearly a decade later, Tyler reached out to me through Facebook and tried to initiate conversation with me while he was in the shower. He had sent unsolicited photos, and I immediately blocked him.
So that's the video that we were talking about, and again, that suspect who is alleged in that video is still actively on staff at the ramp right now. And again, right now it's alleged, but so far, almost all the other alleged predators there, facts have came out that they are true. So, yeah, and that's what got me to Bless said, oh my OMG, he sent him photos after the fact. Yeah, after all of this, the victim said that Tyler still sent him unsolicited pictures. Just that shows you that he was not even scared when that happened. One thing I want to say, if you know one of these victims or you think you know who a victim is or anything, please do not say their name on here. Please don't say their name on here, okay? It's up to a victim to say if they want their name out there, but please do not say their name. I'm not saying anyone has, but I should have said that in the beginning on the comments. If you're commenting, no matter what, please don't say any victims' names. Now, one comment I want to see. So, Evan made a comment that said, Tyler Jordan was my best friend's roommate back in the day, and he made some very strange remarks about his mother. Well, that's pretty sick, but on par with these people. All right. We can get back to you, Rod. You have anything to add to anything I was saying, or?
I just want to add that Evan is like my best friend, and That's who's commenting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
super cool guy. I met him there at the ramp, and he's got stories to share too about there and all our crazy time there.
Yeah. Team, make sure we reach out to Evan. Message Evan Rogers. Um, so another thing we've been talking a lot about as far as Karen is the finances, and been told by numerous people, been shown some actual proof that she was begging for money for a project all the way since at least 2008. And that project has never been, as far as I know, even started, definitely not completed. So there's no telling how much money she has actually raised from people giving, thinking it was for that project. And then also, we know that one of the buildings that she has purchased, well, I think you made a video about one of the building that's up for sale right now that she has just recently put up for sale. Talk about that.
So basically, Karen bought an old hotel that was really run down, and she was trying to get money to buy the building, and then afterwards, she was trying to get money to remodel the building. But the interesting thing to me was that she wanted $460,000 to buy the building. Now, I have since then been told by locals, and this is alleged again, but I've been told by locals that that building was for sale for under 200. She raised 460 to buy the building, and that's what she says she paid for it. I don't know if that's true or not, but
We
the
can find that
locals,
out. We'll dig on that and find that out for sure, one way or the
yes.
other.
And then after she had purchased the building, she had one lump sum, a big donation by a guy named Perry Stone, who also got investigated by the FBI. He gave her $400,000 towards buying that building. After she bought the building, she then raised another, she wanted another $500,000 to remodel it. And she made a video where she said that she had raised $433,000 for the renovation of the building. Now, if you're familiar with small towns, that's that the numbers just don't add up. Uh, Buildings aren't normally that expensive, especially one that was this run down. I mean, this building, I'm told, had black mold all over it, and I don't know if it did cost that much money, $500,000 almost, but it didn't take that much money to restore the building. And what I'm told by locals and people who were there is that she didn't even do a good job of restoring the building. Like, she didn't even treat the mold that was in there. She just basically had them paint over it. And like I said in my video, what she does is she has most of the grunt work be done by the students. So when you go to school there, they make you work for them for free. And so they make you do jobs that they would have otherwise had to pay somebody to do. You do them for free. So for example, I would go and I would demolish buildings, demolish the inside of houses so that people could come in and rebuild them. So I'm sure that she had, and I've been told by locals that she had all the students down there doing a lot of the remodeling. And then obviously the things that take more technique, like plumbing and electricity and those finishing touches, those were done by people that she hired. Um, but yes, in my opinion, there's money missing, because how did this building cost this much? And then now it's up for sale for 530, I think 530, something like that, $1,000. So how did she spend almost $1 million on the building? Now it's selling it for way less than what she spent on it. Where's the money? Just doesn't add up to me. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, no, I've looked into that a little bit as far as doing quick math in my head and things the other night, And no, there's a lot of money missing overall, or we'll say unaccounted for sure. Now, and just to be clear, when you say the students are forced to do this work, these are students that are also paying to go to school at this school too, correct? So they're paying money to
Yes.
go there, and then on top of that, there's forced labor. And when you say forced to do, explain how it's like. What does that mean?
Basically, I'm sorry. I gotta charge my phone. Put my phone
Oh,
here
that's
to
fine.
charge. So just give me a second. But basically, when you go to the school, they give you work hours. So there's a certain amount of hours in the week that you have to work. And if you don't work those hours, you have to pay them a fine. So if you're unable to commit to when I was there was 30 hours. If you're unable to commit to the 30 hours, the first time offense for you not committing to the 30 hours, I think it's a $20 fine. I think it goes up to $75, and then it goes up to you getting kicked out of school.
And that's 30
So you
hours a
have to
week.
30 hours a
So
week.
that's just
Yes.
under a full time job for a school that you're
Yeah.
already paying to go to. And keep in mind, we're not talking about some type of accredited college. As he said earlier, these are just people that Karen anointed to be a teacher. Again, if you don't think of this place as a cult now, nothing would convince you because this is exactly what a cult does. So, and I just wanted to make, because I wasn't 100% clear on the forced labor part, but now hearing that, yeah, that's 100% you must. It's not, hey, we would like for you to. This is a, no, you will do all this work. You will put in 30 hours a week, which if you added up the money that's saving her, there's no telling how much money that would add up to, especially this kind of work. I, Jesus, I just, wow. And this woman has got away with this for a long time. A long time. About how, just off the top of your head, I'm not holding you to this number, approximately about how many students do you think that they have at any given time?
I don't know,
Or
but
let's just
my
say when you
class,
were there, when you were there. Yeah.
yes, yeah, my class was over 200 students.
Well, I was not expecting that high of a number. I thought we're talking about 30 or 40 people. And you said over 200.
Yes.
My, oh my goodness.
Now a lot of those people dropped out, because they couldn't hang with all the demands. But at the beginning, when I went to my orientation, there was 200 people.
All right, I'm doing some quick math here. Let's see.
While you do the math, I want to say that we volunteered to do a lot of stuff. It wasn't just like, oh, you're gonna help old people with their groceries. Like we volunteered to do staff activities. Like there was kids who volunteered to print out shirts for her that she would sell. in her store that they have at the ramp. There was kids who worked in the office who answered phones for them, kids who graded papers of other students, kids who would um, go and go to other churches and basically recruit more people to come to the school. There was kids who, like me, helped renovate buildings. There was kids who they had a food bank. I also worked at the food bank a lot. So it wasn't just things that you can say, oh, well, they're just volunteering across the community to do nice things. These were like actual things that they should have paid somebody to do. Janitorial work. A lot of kids worked just cleaning the bathrooms, the all the office buildings and all that.
So, jeez. So just doing basic, quick math on this. Let's say there's 200 students putting in their 30 hours a week, mandatory working hours. And let's just say that if they were doing a real job, like they were really working for someone and that person or that company business was paying them $10 an hour, which is definitely on the low end of any, wages, obviously. But let's just say benefit of a doubt, $10 an hour. At 200 students, 30 hours a week, we're talking about just in labor pay, she is saving over $50,000 a week. Does that make sense? That's These numbers are crazy. And again, this is on the low end, benefit of a doubt. On top of these students are already paying for school. So what it is there for the students to go to school there? Is there just one across the board cost, or does it differ person to person? Like, how does the cost work for the cost of the school to go there?
So when I was there, it was the lowest it had ever been because it was their first time running the school. I think it was 3,500 for the school year. But if you paid up front, you got like I think you got like $200 off. And then if you paid on the day the school started, you got like $100 off. But then if you did a monthly, then you paid the full amount. And they made sure to tell you that you could be kicked out of school at any moment for any reason, and they would never reimburse you. That money was gone, and it would never be reimbursed. So I know that after my school year, the cost has only gone up. And on top of that, now uh, I went back in 2015 to visit, and they had made a rule that you had to, if you were a student, you had to live in their dormitories. And those dormitories cost more money than it would cost you to rent your own apartment. And they changed the rule now where when I went to visit, I saw the rule myself in the rule book, and it was going to be for everybody. They changed the rule to have it only be 25 and under and only your first year of the school. But that generates for them tons of money. And I don't know what they cost now, but when I was there, the dorms cost $300 and it was one shared room in a house. So you had about 6 students in a house with one bathroom and one kitchen, and you shared a room with another student. And for $300, I rented my own apartment.
Yeah, in Hamilton, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the cost goes up because they make you pay for their dorms, and I'm pretty sure they make you pay the tuition right up front. On top of that, they also have the food program where they really emphasize they want you to buy, and I'm not sure if it's mandatory or not, but they want you to buy their food program where you get to eat at their restaurant that they own. And so obviously that's another cost that's added on that you could very simply just make your own food as a student and save some money, but they really push that and they try to, basically get every single dollar out of every student.
And for the year, you said when you were there it was 3,500 for the year, and so
Yes.
that's 2 semesters.
Yes.
Okay, and okay, so now somebody said now it's 4,500 a year for tuition.
Yeah, it's only gone up. I know it's only gone up. And that's
So
Melissa
again,
Goodwin who's
let's go in the middle,
yeah.
and let's say, and on the low end, let's say there's 200 students for a year, and let's just say just the tuition. Let's say they're paying $4,000 for the year. You're at $800,000 a year just off their tuition. And do we know how much? Do you have any idea how much the teachers, instructors, whatever they're called, is she paying them, or what are they making?
I don't know how much they make their salaries, but when I was there was some teachers who only received like love offerings. So for example, we had a teacher, oh, I don't know if I could name his name, but I could say he was very well hated among the alumni, and he was only paid, I believe, like $100 a week. And he had to drive there. He didn't even have a house there, and he came and he taught a whole semester, and he was only paid like $100 a week. Now the other teachers, I'm pretty sure that they were paid more. Now those other teachers, though, they lived in ramp-owned housing, so I'm not sure how that worked. Where maybe they didn't have to pay them as much because they were like, "You're living in my house that I own," so maybe they just subsidized it that way. So I'm not really sure.
Let's see. Evan said, I had youth students who told me about how they were forced to move from their cheap apartments into a more expensive dorm. They also had to pay for a meal plan at the ramp on restaurant. Yeah, so I'll give her this. Talking about Karen, she's good at making money. Uh, but yeah, they're what we say nickel and diming you every time you turn. And don't forget, they call this place a ministry.
Oh, and
It is
and they
astounding
put
how
a lot
much
of
money
emphasis.
she's making.
Yeah, and they put a lot of emphasis on the students that if they want to get more out of the school, then they have to give more. So, for example, whenever they have a special guest that comes and preaches, they take up an offering at the school. When the special teacher comes and preaches, they pick up an offering. So it's like, didn't we just already pay for this? And on top of that, you're asking us for an offering, and they use language like you have to pull on the anointing or you have to sow your seed so then you get something out of this class. The more you give, the more God's going to give to you spiritually from this, you know, guest speaker.
Yeah, and there's no telling how much the ministry, how much she takes up just in tithes. We'll call them tithes. There's no telling how much she takes in just on that. And again, just from the numbers that we know, and we're talking about on the low end, we're well for the year just for the school part. She's bringing in well over $1 million, and on top of literally, I mean, every time we see her speak, almost she's begging for money for something. And oh my goodness, and yeah, she's good at making money. Every corner, I mean, they're putting in like this meal plan. I mean, this sounds. I mean, I went to a 4 year college. I went to the University of Alabama. This is where I got my degree, and I went there. Well, it took me 5 years. Don't make fun of me, but it sounds just like that as far as the money, as far as nickel and diming you everywhere. Like you had to have a meal plan. The first year you had to live in the dorms and pay God knows how much for the dorms that were horrible. Now they're way nicer, but I'm an old guy. So when I was there in 2000 and when I was a freshman in 2003, dorms were not so nice at Alabama, but a lot of money it cost on top of just their normal living. These people still have to live and have other necessities they have to buy, like toothpaste and I mean, just necessities. And you may not think that necessities add up, but they do, especially as somebody that's not only not bringing in a penny because she's not paying these students, she's forcing them to work at least 30 hours a week, which means they don't have time for another job. They're in school, and so they have to study. I'm sure there's some studying. And then all these other volunteer things that I'm sure they guilt them into doing on top of the forced work hours and attending the classes. They don't have time for a job. So, yeah, when you're not bringing in a penny and you're still having to come out of pocket money, then those small necessities add up fast. This is a money grab like nothing I've seen. She has got her own casino, pretty much. Which, when I say casino, I mean guaranteed not losing. She's not going to lose. She's making a lot of money. Yeah, and that's a good point. Somebody said, and you got an accredited degree at a 4-year university. That sometimes means something, sometimes it doesn't. But it's there. We're here. What kind of paper do you get once you finish this school? That's a good question.
You get a certificate of completion. That's it.
Which means, you want me to tell you what that means to anyone outside of the ramp? Nothing.
Yeah.
You could take that anywhere else to any other ministry, church, whatever. Say, oh, I have this. And they're going to say, oh, okay. That means nothing. It astounds me that many people are paying that tuition to go to this completely unaccredited school. Like, you can't, I'm not going to call them a school anymore because it's not a school at all. I mean, this is not even a vocational school. Like, you're not learning a trade. Like, you're not learning how to be a plumber or an electrician, like something you can, when you graduate, you're definitely going to make a decent amount of money, sometimes a lot. No one gets into ministry for the money. And if they do, they're not in it for the ministry. Like, I've never heard a preacher say, you know why I started preaching? I woke up one morning and I said, I want to make a lot of money, so I started preaching. That's not what happens. Most pastors of churches don't make hardly anything. And it's never guaranteed. So she is just, she's stealing money. She is stealing money from these people because they're getting nothing in return. I mean, this is slavery too. I mean, it is, and I'm not trying to downplay true slavery like we had in this country before, but that's what this is. In a lot of ways, there's no other way around that. I mean, you're forced to do work, and you're getting nothing in return for that work. Nothing. That's what that's called. And in this situation, you're not even getting a place to lay your head. This is crazy. All All right, what else? What else you want to talk about? What else do you think is crazy or that we need to be talking about that we haven't?
Well, I want to say like I don't know, but I was thinking about contacting a lawyer and seeing if we could do a class action lawsuit with all the students. Like we were coerced to work for free and they should pay us back. In my opinion, they should pay us back for that labor. And so I think what if this I'm thinking maybe this is a way to bring them down. Maybe we can't bring them down with, all the allegations and all the things that are coming out about the abuse, but maybe we could hurt them by getting their money. Because like you just ran the numbers. How much money would it cost for them to pay us all back for the 2 years that we worked there for free? On top of that, there were students who they ran behind on payments for the school, and they said, okay, well, you're gonna work if you want to come to school, you're gonna work for free. And they would have to work just to stay in the school. I don't know if that's legal. And so I that's just something that I don't know if any of your followers know if this could be something that we could do, but definitely something that I'm looking into and seeing if we could do something about that. On top of that, they told us in my year, the first year of the school, they told us that they were going to be accredited. They said in 2 or 3 years, we promise you we will be accredited. And they told us the accreditation is going to go back. So it's going to apply to anybody who's ever graduated from our school. So we were promised an accreditation that never came. It's been, I mean, I went to school there 2011. So it's been however long that's been, and there's not been any accreditation. Now, right now, they claim that they have an accreditation, but they don't. They have a few credits that transfer to a school called Oral Roberts University, but it's only like 1 or 2 credits. It's not an actual real accreditation. So we went in there thinking, oh, they're gonna backlog this, and once they get accredited in 2 or 3 years, all of us are going to be accredited, and we could go to another university, another Christian university, and use these credits towards a degree, the 2 years that we spent here towards a degree. And that was false. That never happened, and it couldn't happen because they made up their own curriculum. And they made up their own curriculum so that you could buy their curriculum, and so that they didn't have to buy curriculum from someone else. So it was just about making money, in my opinion.
So y'all were promised accreditation that, oh, hey, this is coming, it's in the works. See, I didn't know that either. Was there
Yes.
anything that y'all signed saying anything like that? Like any admissions papers or anything, or just word of mouth, like they were they were just telling y'all before you got there and while you were there and all that stuff?
when I got there, when I got there, they were promising us that when they would try to recruit you for the school, they were saying that kind of stuff. Now we never signed anything that said that, but my second year, or maybe even the third year, no, the second year that I was there, they changed the name from RSM, Ramp School of Ministry, to RU, Ramp University. And the reason why they made the change, they claimed, was because the accreditation was coming. They said any day now this accreditation will be here. And so we have to change the name in order to qualify for the accreditation. And it never came.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert in this, but I've never heard of a school as far as educational wise being able to go back and accredit past students when the students that were there at the time it wasn't accredited. I don't. Again, I'm not an expert, but it's hard for me to believe that that is even that would even be possible. It's not something I would believe in at all, unless I definitely checked out. But I will check into that just to make sure. Number one, and I the fact that are so what is the technical name now of the school?
I think it's called Ramp University now.
So the fact that they have the word university in their name, and they're promising that you're going to get accredited, and so you're going to get a diploma, degree, whatever at some point. I mean, this is fraud, plain and simple. And I'm not an attorney. Um, I just play one sometimes, but I'm not an attorney. But it would seem to me like your your idea about a class action. I don't see how that's not possible. I think that's very possible. Um, and as someone said a while ago, there. Hold on, let me read the comment. Someone needs to organize the former students, get the people together. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. There needs to be, and I want to help with this, and I don't want anything in return. Please don't misunderstand me. Um, but I would like to help with getting some kind of uh, getting it organized for all the former students that understand how they were wronged now, and just getting a list together. And I don't think that would be too hard to do. And like I said, I'll be glad to help with that, and spread that word. And I think we could probably make that happen pretty quick. And then I think once we got that, then someone that is involved, that is an actual victim, I think y'all could go find an attorney, probably pretty easily. Um, because as you said, there's a lot of money here that a lot of people are owed. Um, and I mean, just the definition of fraud. I mean, I've investigated numerous fraud cases. This is fraud. You can't do those things. You can't promise one thing knowing that it's impossible. And as I said, she knows that, I guess you'd call it back accreditation, whatever you want to call it. That's not possible. But she sold you all that idea. And then again, on top of all that, now actually having the word university in their name. I mean, you put all this together, she knows exactly what she's doing. And now people are paying her $4,500 a year just for tuition. And most of the students, or a lot of the students now, are being forced to live in the dorm. And I'm sure that's an extra charge. And as far as we know, as far as you know, are there still these required work hours? Or has that changed if you know?
Um, there's a lady on here in the comments. Her name's Melissa.
Oh, yeah.
Melissa Goodwin, and she sent her daughter there recently to the school.
Okay.
And she said that that they'd still have the school hours. I believe she said that.
Yeah, Melissa's been a wealth of information on this. So Melissa, to save me from going back because there's so many comments, are there still the required working hours, and is it still 30, or is it all the same, or has something changed about that? But I mean, and to answer your question a while ago about paying the money back, we're talking about, again, if we're just talking about 200 students a year, and let's say the low end $10 an hour, we're probably close to $2 million a year just for that. And again, that's not counting everything else. Okay, so yeah, Melissa said that yes, it's still 30 required hours. And I've never heard of any kind of school or anything that requires you to go do manual labor for 30 hours a week to attend the school. I've never heard of that. This is the first time I've ever, and I'm curious if anybody else has even ever heard of that in any type of school, because I haven't. That's a huge red flag in itself. I'm not going to pay for my child to go to school somewhere and then them have to be laying bricks for 30 hours a week while they're supposed to be learning and studying and things like that. Um, this is man, this is so crazy. Um, well, you said so much there. I don't even remember everything you said. But okay, so you talked about the class action lawsuit, and like I said, I think that's a good possibility, and that needs to be done. And that's what I've been saying too from the beginning, from when I first started looking into this. If we can't get her criminally, which I think there's a decent chance of that, but that's a stretch. But the one way to for sure get her is finances, and I think every victim deserves that. It's not going to, especially the victims of the child predators. It's not going to change what happened to them. I understand that, but that's the least they deserve. That's the least they deserve for what happened to them because of that school and that ministry. And I think every one of them should sue as much as possible from her. And I made this point the other day, and I don't know if any of them have retained attorneys, but if they haven't, they need to, somebody needs to immediately, so just to see if there's and I'm not saying this is possible, but if there's a possibility of all of her assets being frozen right now, because it's obvious she's trying to liquidate, and she's trying to liquidate. It's not a coincidence she chose now to try to liquidate some stuff. She knows this is about to end. She knows. And now with us talking about it and so much more coming out, she knows. So I guarantee you she has a plan in her head, at least in her head, of what she's going to try to do. And someone the other day mentioned they believe that she would probably try to go to another country, at least the UK, because they have a pretty big campus there, which, as I said, that wouldn't be smart of her because she might as well be in the United States because they're going to get her there. But either way, if it's possible, all of her assets need to be frozen right now so these victims can at least have their chance at these finances, because she needs to be taken down. And that is definitely, well, for someone like her, that's the best way to take her down. You could send her to prison for 10 years, and if she gets to keep all the money and doesn't have to pay back anything, she's not going to really care that much. I promise you she won't. But if you took all of her money today, that would be the end of her. That's where it would hit her hard. Um, like I said, I want to help with getting this list together, and we'll talk about that offline. And then let's see what else. What else were you saying other than the class action thing?
I don't know.
Um,
There's a lot of stuff we could talk about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, there's also another predator there, very well known, who he had a restaurant, a buffet style restaurant in town, and I was told personally to watch out for him because he liked young boys,
Who told you,
and he
or
would.
do you? Was it someone on staff there that told you that?
Yes, it's one of the main leaders told me that. But the thing is that he was a big donor to the ramp and a consistent donor. He would give a lot of money, and so they kept him around. But he had a house that he would rent, and he specifically asked to only have boys rent his house. And I was taken by another leader to his house to have dinner at his house. Now, when I was there, like we are talking about the work hours and not being able to find a job there because of the work hours. Plus, the whole town hates you because you're part of this cult. No one wants to hire you. So it was really difficult to find a job. I didn't have a job and I was starving. So I would do anything to eat. So when they told me, oh, this guy wants you to come over to his house and have a meal, he's going to cook a meal for you. I was like, I'm there. I don't care. Like, I'm so hungry. Just how hungry I was. Okay, I was so hungry that, and here's another thing we could talk about. The food bank, at the food bank, they didn't let students take food from the food bank. I worked at the food bank. I was not allowed to take food home from the food bank. The only food I was allowed to take home was food they were going to throw away. One time I ate food from a from a box, a whole pallet that had rat feces and pee and dead rats all in it. And they said, "We're not going to give this food away because it's too gross." And they said, "Do you guys want this food?" I said, "Absolutely, I will eat that food." I took that food home and ate it. That's how hungry I was. When I got invited to this guy's house, I went. And this guy was very touchy, but nothing happened. He was definitely very touchy, but nothing happened. Again, I'm not sure that I was his type. Maybe a little too brown for him, a little too overcooked, a little too masculine, maybe, but nothing happened. But then one of the students came out and told me that he, well, he worked at the restaurant for this guy, and the guy had left his laptop on, playing um, gay pornography on it while they were working, and they could see his laptop there playing this gay pornography. And when they came to his office, he had the laptop open and he asked them if they liked it, insinuating like, do you want to, have this kind of relationship with me? Now that student went to the leaders at the ramp and told them, and they told him that they were going to talk to him. That student also told me the same day. And when the guy came after church, when they went up to the guy, I was there with that student, and they didn't do anything. They told him something. Now we were a little too far to hear. They told him something, and then they all started laughing together and hugging, and saying, I know you," things like that. And nothing was ever done. The student then was fired from that job, and he was told, and the guy, the predator guy, told him, "You should have just came to me. You should have never told anybody." And this guy was there for a long time, and who knows if he approached anybody else or
I'm
did
sure he
anything with
did.
anybody else.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I want to say about the eating and being hungry thing. That's horrible. I, I I haven't even wrapped my head around exactly that. It's not even really set in because number one, obviously, you weren't the only one that was just literally starving while she's bringing in millions of dollars a year, and these people that she's responsible for are literally starving. On top of some of them are being abused, forced hard labor. I hope everyone understands that this place is worse. Let me say this again. This place is worse than prison in a lot of ways. Think about that. I, my goodness. I lost my train of thought. Um, so another predator that's a big donator of money. Not allowed to speak out against him. And this is only going to piss me off even worse, but someone asked, and they've asked it a couple of times, and I kept forgetting. But said, Let me find it. Do you mind telling us how you were spoken to there, about something about racial profile? Does that make sense? Does that comment make sense? Do you mind
Yeah,
talking about that?
yeah, for sure. Um, so this is about Sam Bentley's father, who was the judge there in Marion County. So when I first got there, I had a brother. My brother has passed away, but me and my brother moved there, and we were probably the only brown people uh, in that whole community, and so the only Mexicans for sure. And so, even though I'm not Mexican, but that's what people say.
Yeah.
But we went to our first ever thing outside of the church was a men's group. We went to this men's group, and after the men's group, the Judge Bentley, called me and my brother over to him. So we went over there, and he told us in front of the staff, in front of the people who were going to be our teachers, he told us, he said, "Now I know that you Mexicans like to rape underage women, but don't do that in my town, because I will give you the maximum penalty if you do that in my town. If you want to rape young women, you go do that in the next town over, because I know you Mexicans love doing that." And then he went on to brag about how he gives colored people higher sentences than anybody else. He said, "When I see them come in and they're black or Mexican like you, I give them the highest sentence I can. I don't care what they did. I give them the highest sentence I can." Everybody there laughed. Nobody said, "Hey, that was wrong." There was one guy, a guy named Joe Reeser, came up to us afterwards and said, "Don't listen to him." But nobody confronted him and saying, "Hey, what was said wasn't cool." Everybody just made sure that we knew that this was common talk. This was commonly what we were going to be treated as, and we were. There was a lot of racial things that went on there. But what's ironic to me is that his own son was the
Yeah.
predator.
Yeah. Which statistically, that is who the predator is. The young and middle aged and elder white guy. I mean that's who fits that profile. Number one. Number two, the fact that him saying that was a joke to everyone else. Ah. And I guarantee you he wasn't joking about what he referred to them as black and brown people, right? Or black and Mexican people, whatever, that he gives them harsher sentences because of their skin color. And I have factual proof right now of a circuit court judge in Fayette County, Alabama, that does that. I've pulled the numbers. It's there. It's right there. And we've been trying to spread awareness of that. So hopefully people that hear this understand this is definitely something that could happen, because here we have and this is not hearsay from you. He told this directly to you, correct?
Yes.
Wow. And this ministry, it was just a joke to them. Wow. There's a special place for all these people where they will end up. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't make that call, obviously, but it'd be hard for me to believe there's not. And man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on here and sharing this stuff with us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And number one, I know it takes a lot of courage to publicly speak out like this, especially something that you were a part of at one time. But I want you to know that I understand and that I have so much respect for you. Um, and everyone else is speaking out about it as well, but definitely you for being willing to be so open about it and helping us spread this awareness. Um, and I mean every bit of that. And I want you to know that I will help you in any possible way I can, as well as anyone else that was a victim of their, again, whether it be the the abuse, the forced labor, I mean all that. And I'm not stopping until we take Karen Wheaton down. And because my lawyer is going to say something, I mean in a legal way. I'm not calling for vigilante justice. Please don't misunderstand me in no way whatsoever. I'm talking about legally. But legally, we are going to take her down, and I'm not going to stop until we do. This is number one on my list. And if anyone gets tired of hearing about this for the next however long, you might as well unfollow me because this is what you're going to be hearing a lot about. And again, I've shared this with a lot of other very large creators, a lot bigger than me, and they're all on board and going to start speaking out about this place. And I think after tonight and them hearing some of the things that you have said now is really going to step that into overdrive. And so I think it's only a matter of days before this starts getting national attention if it's not already. And I want you to know that because that you are doing all of that. Because I couldn't do this by myself. I mean, this has nothing to do with me. But thankful to you and some of the other ones that are speaking out and are wanting to speak out. That's what's going to bring the attention to this and what's going to get something done. And again, we're going to have a lot of conversations offline and talk about some other things. But most of anything, I want you to know how much I appreciate you coming on here, and I really mean that. You're doing an amazing thing, and that's not going unnoticed. And I mean, just tonight we've had around 150 people the entire time on here between the platforms. So around 150 people have watched every single bit of this. And anyone that's watched this is going to be outraged now, and they're going to spread the word, and they're going to spread the word. And then this live is still going to be on where it can be replayed. And then we're also going to be making a lot of short reels from it and posting. And then, like I said, along with the other creators, it's going to start talking about it. And then we're also going to have some others that have been a part of it on here, sitting in your seat as well. And more than, I mean, I want to have you back, at least as a guest on the podcast. If not on the live, but probably both, if you're open to that anyway.
Yeah, of course.
And make sure right now that you tell everyone where they can follow you, what all platforms you're on, exactly how they can find you, and what's your videos.
Yeah, and you can find me on Facebook, Rodrigo Burgos. You can find me on TikTok at Bot Brigade One, and you can find me on YouTube as Jesus Brigade. But again, this isn't about my notoriety. It's just about I want to say this. I want to say that these are the stories that I could share with you. The ones that I can't share with you are worse. They are absolutely disgusting. The worst things that you could, Epstein level stuff, the worst things that you could possibly think of. Okay, that's what I can't share with you. The reason why I'm sharing is because there's people who are caught up in the legal stuff. They can't speak right now. Okay. And there's people who have signed NDAs under pressure who can't speak right now, who have worse stories than this, way worse. This, what I went through, what the stories we shared today are nothing. That's the reason why I'm sharing. When I was told what I know, I even said this in my video, I cried in my bathroom. I cried because it was so gross. And these are people that I know, that I care about. And this is the whole reason why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to get followers or, to get on people's podcasts. I'm doing this for them. They can't talk right now. They can't speak right now. They don't have a voice. And when they did speak, they were shut down. People didn't believe them. They were told to be quiet. That's who this is for. So I just want to make that clear.
Um, and I understand you're not in this for notoriety or anything like that, but you're a wealth of knowledge on this, and you're a great communicator, and so I think it's very important that you continue to share your stories and to share the things you know, make more videos and get more followers, because that's only going to help this in the end to bring more attention. The more attention and awareness that this has, the better it's going to be for us good guys and girls. And the worse it's going to be for her and the ramp. So make sure that you you continue doing what you're doing, because you're doing a great thing.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you so much.
and those as far as his socials, I will make sure to get those posted sometime tomorrow under this live, which will be on Facebook. And then I'm also going to make sure it's reposted everywhere. The full live will be on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. At some point this week, I'm going to go through and take out the silences and stuff like that. But we're going to get this on all the platforms that I'm on, and I'll make sure to post all of his social links under those. But yeah, make sure you check him out, because he's made some really good videos, again, that are very informative, and more than likely he's going to make more. But yeah, we'll talk more offline, Rod. And again, I can't tell you how much I thank you for coming on here and sharing this stuff with us. And you have my personal number. Do not ever hesitate to text, call me for anything. I don't care what it is. Don't hesitate. And I'm not just saying that. You can ask my team. That's really, truly who I am and how I am. And I want to do everything I can to get this woman shut down and that place shut down.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come on here, for you to share your platform and help me spread the word, and all the work that you're doing, spreading the word on your channel. I've seen your lives about this. Thank you so much. I can't say thank you enough. Uh, Obviously, I'm not a big creator, nowhere near even your level. So this just helps so much, just to spread the word and get this out there. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And hope you have a good rest of your night. And like I said, I'll be in touch. We're going to talk more. And in the meantime, just keep doing what you're doing.
All right,
Are there
thank you.
any
You too.
Are there any
Yeah.
final questions from anybody for Rod? I guess that's about it for tonight. But again, we're going to have you back for sure. So, but all right, man. Hey, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
I'm not going to talk long because I'm pretty overwhelmed at the time. But that was powerful. That was powerful. I learned so much from tonight, from speaking with him, Way more than I even thought. Some of the things he said are just heartbreaking, to say the least. And if I thought I had a fire lit under me before about this place, it was nothing compared to what it is now. And of course, all the essaying of minors and things like that doesn't get any worse than that. But one of the things that really stood out to me out of this interview tonight was when he was talking about literally going hungry, paying this woman all this money, doing all this forced manual labor, and still being so hungry that they ate things that literally had rat feces in them. And you can ask my wife and my therapist. The hungry part is one of my trigger points. When I was a small kid, I went hungry a lot. And so I know what that feels like. And that's why it's one of my trigger points today, anytime somebody brings that up. And that's probably why that hit so hard with me. But it doesn't get much worse than that. And again, obviously, I mean, he's not the only one. There's no telling how many people that she has put through all of this while she's living in her extremely nice home. And her second in charge CFO son-in-law, and most important title, child predator, is living in a very nice place. All on the backs of these completely innocent, unsuspecting students. Most of them young, as far as late teens, early 20s. I've never heard anything like this. I haven't. The fact that this place has been able to operate as long as it has is unbelievable. But again, I think the more awareness we bring to this, the worse it's going to be for her, for Karen Wheaton. And I'm not stopping. Because some of the things we're talking about right now, there are still students attending there right now that are going through those things. Think about that. This is not just stuff that happened in the past. They are still literally going through it right now. And we have to put a stop to that as soon as possible. But as I said, there's going to be a lot more on this. We're not stopping. And I don't remember what the dates are, but she's just recently, in the last week, been promoting some women's retreat or camp or something that she's still promoting right now, trying to get more people to pay money to come to it. And there are people still paying her. It's this weekend, this coming up weekend. We need to get as many people that have signed up for that to pull out. We need to show her right now we're not messing around and that we're not going to stop until she's completely shut down. And that'll be a good start. If you know anyone that has signed up for that, please talk to them. tell them to watch this. And again, this is going to be fully edited tomorrow. When I say edited, I just mean the silence is taken out. I'm not going to edit anything he said. Nothing. Just take the silences out where it's a little shorter. And this is going to be posted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. And then I'm going to pull a lot of shorts from this and post on those places too, as well as TikTok. And have them watch these things and listen to this man that literally lived it himself. And if they're still okay with paying her and going to that, then you know who they are then. Because don't forget, she's doing all of this in the name of Jesus Christ. Literally. All of it. There's only one person she's serving, and that's herself. And this is happening in small town Alabama. This is happening an hour and a half away from where I live. This is right up the road. But we've already started all-out investigation. We're digging up everything. We're boots on the ground there. We have people everywhere that's pulling as much information and gathering as much information, doing full recon on all of this. That's how all in I am on this. And again, that just kicked in to high gear for sure. I appreciate each and every one of you for being on here. And I really mean that. It means a lot to me. And this stuff, like we went over tonight, is exactly why I do what I do. This stuff needs awareness brought to it. And with you all, we have already made some big things happen before in prior things. This is one of the biggest things that we can change, for sure. As far as the amount of people that this affects, this is one of the biggest things we have covered. Especially the amount of active victims right now being victimized by this woman. We all need to realize that. But I can't do any of this by myself at all. It requires all of you. Please share this stuff with all your friends and family. Repost the videos, all that stuff. Like them, comment on them. All that gets them pushed out to the For You pages, which gets them more views, which is more awareness. That's what we need for sure. Make sure you follow Rod. And again, I'll post all of his socials, all his links under the videos tomorrow. So make sure you follow him on everything he's on and watch his stuff, like them, comment on them, push them out. And then again, I've got some other very large creators that are gonna be a part of this as well. That's gonna start sharing this stuff and making their videos on it, and that's gonna be good too. But that's all I ask of you. Wow. I hope y'all have a good rest of your Monday night, and I'll see y'all back Wednesday night. If there's anything I can do for any of you, please don't hesitate to message me. If you have any information at all about the ramp, especially if it's personal information, like if you were a member there, your sister was a member there, your brother, your aunt, uncle, whatever. If you have any direct information, please message us. Please message me. You can either message me on any of the platforms I'm on, or you can email us at agentdbaker315@gmail.com. It's agentdbaker315@gmail.com. That is all extremely helpful. And then most importantly, if you have firsthand knowledge of anything there, if you were a member, victim, whatever, and you're interested in being on my podcast, please message us. We want you on. And we can do it either like we did with him tonight, bring you on live, or we can do a regular podcast where it's more controlled, because I know a lot of people prefer that. And I'll leave that up to you. Either way, you're allowed to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't steer the conversation. I'll let you talk about whatever you want to talk about. So if there's something you don't want to talk about, then we won't talk about it. If there's something you do, we will. That'll be completely up to you. But it's very helpful for getting this firsthand knowledge, and for people to hear this firsthand knowledge from the actual person that lived through it is very powerful. So again, but please let us know. I know a couple of you, we've already getting this set up, but I know there's more. So please let us know, and we'll go from there. Yeah, let me, right quick. If you are interested in being on the podcast, guest on the podcast, you can either, I prefer you either send a Facebook message to Christy Robinson on Facebook, or email us at that address, agentdbaker315@gmail.com. She's my booking manager, and she'll get the first call and stuff set up like that. But that would be very helpful if you did one of those things, if you're interested in being on the podcast. And some of you there, she's going to be reaching out to already. But I think that's about it. But thank you all. And definitely thank my team. My team is amazing, and I know they're behind the scenes, but none of this could happen without all of them. They are amazing. They're doing amazing work. They're doing a lot more work than I am, that's for sure. Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now in